anglais. If you have any questions, yes, you can put them in French because Erica and I we will try to answer that in French. If not, trying to use some kind of online tool just to translate. Even a rough translation will be good. I mean, we should be able to understand your questions because obviously it's all related to either the job or immigrating to Canada. So we would definitely, I mean, certainly we're not expecting any job regarding, orthopedic surgery, right? So, right, Erica? So anyway, so thank you all for joining us today. I'm just waiting for control of there, I got my control. Okay, so thank you all for joining us this morning. My name is Shaw. I am the Vice President of Global Outreach at G-TAC. And once again, welcome to join our workshop today. And we are expecting full capacity as this workshop is really becoming quite popular, and it's becoming almost like a de facto source to your employment to Canada here. So, and today, once again, we have a very relevant topic that's going to be that you please listen to it carefully because we have a very industry expert that's got years of experience that's here to share with you about what you need to do to make make you shine. So GTAC, Global Talent Alliance Canada, we present live webinars. We do employment connections. Last week we had Ericsson, and we will have other employers coming online. Big employers. So just keep an eye on our schedule in the coming weeks. Unfortunately, December is a short week because of the holidays coming. So we will only hold 3 sessions in December. December 2nd, today, December 9th. Next week is if you want to know anything about immigrating to Canada. So that will be a great workshop. And then and then there's another one on December the 16th. Then we're going to take 3 weeks break. That's the last two weeks of December and first week of January. Then we're going to resume on January the 10th. Okay, January the 10th. That's right. Yeah. First Thursday. Erica, what's the first Thursday in January? January the 10th, I believe. Yeah.
Oof, oh no, I'd have to look
January the 10th. January the 12th. January the 12th.
12th is the first Thursday. Oh wow.
Yeah. Well, that's when we're going to resume our workshop in January. Sorry, January
the 13th.
13th. Yes. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So so I'm going to go to the next slide. So today's topic is how to make your profile stand out to Canadian employers. So this is a very relevant information for you to keep. Now, I can tell you right now, with the hundreds and hundreds of emails that we receive on a daily basis, some of the emails that you send, trust me, if you send that to employers, or you send that if that's any indication how you send it to your job application, chances are you're not going to get response. So today, you probably understand why. Oh, some people told me, you know what, I apply 200, 300 jobs a month, not one response. Well, we're going to show you why. Okay, possibly some of the reason that we have about. And once again, it is with a great privilege and honor to have Erica Dunlop join us. Erica is a professional career consultant. She's based here in Ottawa, and she and I actually worked for many years before. She's got over 5 years experience working in recruitment, talent development, and career counseling. And she's been in the public sector, private sector, nonprofit sector. So she's quite well known with, she's quite familiar with various sectors and the ins and outs of these sectors. But she's, the most important thing about it is she's got true passion, like me, like all of us in TAC and GTAC, is we are really passionate about helping people achieve their goal here, especially in their new home here in Canada. What else? She enjoys a good true crime series or book and listening to her vinyl collections. Good for her.
Okay. It's nice to add some personal qualities in there. you know? Makes it more
Amongst
of a human interaction.
yeah, amongst many other things. Okay, so Global Talent Alliance Canada has over 10 years of experience serving skilled workers for settlement and employment needs across Canada. We also help employers, which is business, expand talent pipeline and meet their talent needs. Currently, I'm helping a company that's in the pre-IPO stage to establish an entire team here in Canada. So there's a lot of trust that we have gained over the past years with employers and with people that we place over thousands of people that we place over the past 10 years. Okay, over 10 years. So sorry, why is this? Okay, so and we hope to also help global talent, such as every one of you that's listening right now, to fulfill your dream and let you get a better understanding about the labor market information here in Canada and what are the requirements through these weekly media employer workshop. And best of all our workshop are free to register and attend. So you can ask us many questions you want, and we're trying to answer you all of them. Okay. And we also provide training. This is very, very important. Currently, we have training courses ongoing right now, and we'll be starting new training classes in January. So keep an eye out. We will continue to pass this information either via our Facebook, our LinkedIn profile, or on our corporate website. Okay, why is this not moving? Come on. Okay, good. So all the webinars, you'll see all the workshop that you will see right now is all related to job readiness, resume clinic, interviews, labor market information, and then we also have an employer that's coming online. This is all mentioned earlier. And go to our website, www.g-tac.ca. You know, this chat box, this I have to, okay, .ca / upcoming event, and then you'll see all our workshop listed there. You just click on registration, and it's absolutely free to register and join. Mentioning earlier, professional trainings. We also have accounting training. We have agile training. We have workplace communication training, cybersecurity training. We also have IT training. The best part about IT training is we just struck a deal with 3 companies in Canada. So once you complete your IT training, you will get 3 months. If you're successful in completing the training, you will get 3 months of live job work experience. You'll be put to like projects that everyday regular Canadian IT professional would do, and then you will get fulfill that job. And if you complete that 3 months successfully, you could be offered a position. So this is a very, very exclusive. It's something that we have negotiated with employers. So you don't want to miss that. We will have more information on this IT training come in the coming days and weeks. Okay.
That's fantastic, Shaw. That's really exciting.
Yeah. So hey, we have to continue the tradition is to help people find work in Canada. And it does. And you know what's really funny is, Erica, thank you for mentioning that. Is the fact is, first of all, while I'm talking, please pass the control to Erica. Okay, is the fact is there are over 600,000 IT job vacancies in Canada. Yeah, there's so many talented people out there that wants to work. So there has to be a meaningful bridge. And trouble is, a lot of organizations, you and I both know, a lot of organizations out there says, oh, we're here to help people, but they really lack the substance. in what they
Really
say.
lack the knowledge, I think, or it's
Yeah,
maybe not a lack of motivation, but like you said, there's
yeah,
such a talent shortage here. It just makes sense to hire abroad, especially for roles where you're able to, right? So something
yeah.
has to change in employment, and I think those changes are probably going to be coming in the next few years, hopefully.
Oh, hopefully. Okay, so we're gonna pass the mic now to Erica. Erica, the mic
All
is
right.
yours, but just talk a little bit about yourself first before you get the control. I think
Sure.
the control, you should have the control by now. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and give a warm welcome to Erica.
Hello, thank you, Shaw. Thank you for having me here today. I am so happy to be here and to see all of these people joining this session. As I was saying to Shaw, this chat box is really, it's very active. So it tells us that you guys are very motivated, and we just appreciate you being here today. And Shaw did a bit of intro for me. So thank you, Shaw. But for those of you who have come in maybe a little bit later, my name is Erica Dunlap. I am a career consultant. My background is in talent development, recruitment, career consulting, and a bit of project management and project coordination. Excuse me, I do have a bit of a cold, so I'm sorry if I cough or sneeze. That's what I've got the tea here for. So thank you for your patience. Excuse me, I have been helping newcomers specifically to find employment in Canada for over the past actually, it's going to be 4 years in January. For 4 years, I've been working with newcomers, and it's something that I really enjoy because I think there is a disadvantage, excuse me, for newcomers trying to find employment in Canada because you don't necessarily know the labor market. You don't know how or what the expectations are in Canada from Canadian employers. So I'm really happy to be here and happy to share my tips and advice on how to make you just a little bit more successful, I'm hoping, throughout your job search journey. As Shaw said, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We're going to try to get to as many as possible. That can be a little difficult when we've got almost 400 people attending, but we're really going to try our best to answer all of your questions. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So today we're talking about how to make your application shine. So this involves a lot of different things. As we know, job search, career search takes a lot of effort, and there's lots of different components. So for today, I'm going to be focused on, let's see, there, whoop, 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 I'll have to get used to these controls. Excuse me. So this is what we will be discussing today. I'm going to focus on three different things, three different topics. Now I know maybe what we can do, I can still see the chat while I present. And I know sometimes I can speak a little quickly, so I'm going to try to slow it down because that's something that I'm working on. But if I am speaking too fast, please just put a little reminder in the chat to slow it down. So as I said, today we're going to be discussing these three different topics. There's so many different things involved with job search and the recruitment process and application process and interview process, so many things that go into all of that. So for today, because of time, we're going to be focusing on three very important things that you should have, I guess, perfected when doing your job search. And it's going to make you a lot more successful when sending out your applications. So the first thing we're going to be discussing is your professional introduction. So you've heard a couple of them today. Shaw did a great introduction to his organization and a little bit about him, as well as myself, which I appreciate. But we're going to go into a few other examples just so you get an idea of what you should be including in your professional introduction. The next thing we're going to talk about is some tips on how to make your resume stand out from the other applicants. You know, in a world where we have so many jobs available and the talent is extremely competitive, it is important that you put the care and effort into your resume, because that is your, you know, besides LinkedIn, sometimes that can be your sole marketing tool, is your resume. So it's very important to make sure that you've got a competitive resume that really amplifies your experience and makes employers want to reach out to you and learn more about you. And the final thing, Very important, a great LinkedIn profile. This is extremely important. I would say in all of Canada, especially if you're planning on immigrating to Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, we all really like to use LinkedIn. So that's for people like myself, professionals, as well as Shaw. This is where a lot of networking happens. And it's a really good way to meet people. It's especially useful while you're overseas. I have my LinkedIn tab open here and I can see that a few people have already messaged me. So that's exciting. It is a really good tool to use. Now, I will say, okay, I will slow down. Thank you for the reminder. And I think sometimes, I just want to make sure we're not losing. There's a bit of a delay. Okay, so as I said, the first thing we're going to be discussing is your professional introduction. So this is essentially what you would tell somebody when you're networking, when you're in an interview. You can really, it's a universal tool that you can discuss with anybody. And it's really important to perfect this because it's really the first impression that you're going to be giving of yourself to others. So it's important to practice and feel confident in it and also speak about relevant things. So essentially what is in a professional introduction, I was going to say it's similar to something that we're going to discuss about your resume, but professional introduction, a little bit different than your intro or profile on your resume, and I'll make that distinction a little bit later. So this is very focused on who you are. So who you are as a person. Obviously, we're going to keep it professional. As I gave Shaw my intro for today, I did have him mention a few things about me personally. So hobbies or things that I like to do in my downtime. We are kind of seeing this shift now that we're in this digital world since COVID-19, since the pandemic. We've kind of lost some of the personal touches that we would get in person. So I like to add a few personal things just to make me more human, and it's nice to be able to relate to others. So but normally you would discuss how many years of experience you have, in what industry, and depending on where you are in your career, you would talk about your education. So maybe you're a new grad, or maybe you just took some certifications or did your master's or just completed your bachelor's. Wherever you are, I guess, in your educational journey, it's good to discuss that because people are interested. I always like listening and hearing about people's education, but of course, that doesn't make up for years of experience. So experience is always something that you want to focus on. The second thing I have listed here are your standout abilities or your skills. This is really the personal value that you could bring to the company that you're applying to. And this could be, as I said, your professional introduction isn't just for when you're interviewing. It's not just when you're speaking with recruiters or managers. This is something that you could, talk to your neighbor about. For those of you maybe who've just moved to Canada, or you're planning to move to Canada, when you're trying to network online or when you are networking online, it's nice to talk about the different values and skills because that's what's going to set you apart from other applicants. Number three, I have achievement. I really like to hear about one achievement. You don't want to go into so much detail in your professional introduction, and don't think that you have to include everything that's here, all these 4 bullet points. If you're including 3 out of the 4, that is completely fine. You want to make sure that you're not talking the other person's ear off. You want to make sure that you're valuing their time and you're not talking too much. But if you have one really good achievement that you're proud of that relates to the position, this is especially for when you're interviewing, when you're interviewing in person, pick an achievement that you're proud of and discuss it. And that I find for me is something that really stands out as a recruiter. When a job seeker is telling me about one of their proud achievements, then I get a better understanding of what's their value proposition? What have they done in the past that gives me, pardon me, gives me ideas for what they can do in the future for future organizations. And it's a really good way for recruiters like myself to be able to market candidates to employers to at least secure an interview. And then the last thing, I find this is really, really important. Why are you passionate about what you do? Why do you love what you do? This is as easy as a sentence. As I mentioned in my professional introduction that Shaw read off, thank you. Him and I and myself, we have a strong passion for helping people, find a career where they're going to be happy, satisfied. That's your livelihood. So I really like helping people with that, because otherwise sometimes it's just simple things like what we're going to be discussing today. But if you don't know about it, then you're really going to be left behind. So that's why I love what I do. And pardon me. It's wintertime here, so cold season, unfortunately. This is why a professional introduction is important, and that's why a passion statement is also very important. Keep in mind, there's a reason why we're talking about professional introductions at the very beginning of this presentation, because it's going to kind of bleed into other topics that we're going to be discussing. Pardon me. So this is just an example of a professional introduction. This is actually my introduction. So I am a professional with over 4 years of experience in recruitment, staffing, and career consulting. So I'm talking about my background and the industry that I've worked in and how many years of experience I have. I have an outgoing personality, which allows me to build strong relationships with others, fostering trust and collaboration. I possess excellent interpersonal skills and organization skills while remaining adaptable to changing priorities. I have a proven history of supporting management and collaborating with HR on various initiatives to meet organizational goals, engage employees, and implement transformation. I have a true passion for supporting job seekers to achieve their career goals. Again, I'm so sorry, but this is a really good example of a professional introduction. You'll see that I didn't necessarily pick a very specific achievement, but I've hit everything else, on the head. I've nailed everything else. It's not too long. You want to keep in mind, as I go to the next page, you want to keep in mind that you want to not drag on. You don't want to talk too much. And this is probably one of the biggest, pardon me, issues that I see a lot of newcomers struggle with is keeping their introduction short. I know it's difficult when you're nervous. You can tend to kind of drag on a little bit. And I know that's something that I notice with a lot of my clients. That could be a language barrier, or that could be something that like I said, you're nervous about. So that's why it's really important to practice this. And it can change. Your intro can slightly change depending on your environment, who you're speaking with, what the job is. But that's the nice thing about it. The majority of it is going to remain the same. Your experience, your education. I didn't necessarily mention education in this because, as I said, sometimes experience can outweigh education. But depending on your industry, it might be really important for you to include your education. Again, I'm so sorry for my throat. You'll see on my second bullet point here, I have do not list things that are not relevant to the job or industry that you want to work in. So you don't want to, for example, if you're an accountant, you might, and you're applying for an accounting position, you might not want to include an achievement that's irrelevant to the position. So maybe your achievement is, let me think here, fundraising. Maybe you fundraise for your church or a school or something that you're passionate about, and you were able to fundraise, over $1,000. So that's just an example. It doesn't really relate to what you're looking for. It doesn't really relate to the job. You want to make sure that whatever you're talking about is specific to the job that you are applying for or that you are interested in, because you don't want to lose the interest of the person that you're speaking with. You also want to make sure that you have some self-awareness. So talking about things that relate to what you're applying to is extremely important, because that shows the other person that you're focused and you know what's appropriate to speak about. Another bullet point I have here is allow for breaks when speaking in case the other person wants to ask a question. This is another thing that I've noticed with a lot of the newcomer talent that I've been working with, or overseas talent, is when they are giving a professional introduction, because you're a little bit nervous, maybe English is your second language. Remember it's okay to speak slowly. Don't try to, you know, don't try to pack everything into 1 minute. 1 minute is just what's the word? A guideline. If it's over a minute, that's okay. But the important thing is to speak slowly. You want to make sure that you're not talking really quickly like this so that the other person can't, jump in and ask a question if they want to. So allow for breaks when you're speaking. And it's really great if you're giving your introduction and another person is asking questions about what you're saying. That's exactly what you want, because that's the level of engagement and discussion and interaction. That's how you build relationships. So really important to speak slowly and try to engage the other person that you're speaking with. The last little check mark I have here is if networking. So if you are giving your introduction in a networking situation, remember to ask the other person about themselves. So when you finish your professional introduction, for example, here, I have a true passion for supporting job seekers to achieve their goals. I could say, have you ever experienced any, or have you worked with any newcomers in your career? How has that experience been? And in what capacity? That's an easy question that I could ask to try to engage the person that I'm speaking with. So asking a meaningful question is really important to engage the other person. And vice versa, if someone is giving their professional introduction to you, make sure that you're paying attention so that you can ask them a question about themselves. It shows that you're paying attention and that you care about what they do, and people really appreciate that. All right, so this is the second topic. Now, if anyone has any questions about this, please go ahead and put them in the chat. If you want to save it for the very end and put it in the chat then, that would be fine as well. But I'm sure Shaw is there monitoring the chat, and I'm sure there's lots of questions. Yeah. Pardon me. So the second thing we're going to be discussing is how to make your resume shine. So this involves, again, a profile, which is a little different than your professional introduction, a little bit different, because now we're focusing on your resume. We're not focusing on just in speaking with somebody else. We're talking about what's going to be on paper. So on your resume, we refer to that as your profile, or your summary, your professional summary. And that includes having, yes, as I said, making your resume shine includes having a wonderful profile that's going to stand out, because that is the first thing that recruiters, employers, managers, pardon me, will look at, is your profile on your resume. And the second most important thing is your key skills. So this could be technical skills, your soft skills. So some technical skills, of course, perhaps you're a developer, you want to list some of the different programming languages or databases that you're familiar with. For soft skills, that could be focusing on emotional intelligence, communication, collaboration, negotiation. Now, I'm really highlighting soft skills here because this is another thing that I see a mistake where not just newcomers, but even Canadians make the mistake of focusing so much on their technical skills, their hard skills, that we don't see enough of their soft skills. And employers really want it. It's 50-50, technical skills versus soft skills. It's 50-50. You need to be able to demonstrate, pardon me, that you've got the soft skills in order to be successful in your position. So really focus on soft skills, very important, especially, again, we're doing everything online at the moment, at least. It's important that you have strong soft skills and can communicate with a team and collaborate with others, amongst other things. And the last thing, again, I have listed here is I have and or achievements. I know not every position that people work in are going to have concrete examples of achievements. So this is why it's an option. And again, I don't want people to get too carried away with this section. I'm going to show you how much you should be including so that you're not going overboard on your resume. Because we want to keep in mind your resume shouldn't be too long. You know, I usually say around 2 to 3 pages, depending on your level of experience. So this is just a quick reminder of what you should include and what you should not include on your resume. So just take a second to look at it. So here on the do include, you'll see obviously your name, your email. So you need to include your contact information. My biggest pet peeve ever is when I have a really good resume. You know, I've got an employer who's looking for somebody. I find a resume, I get really excited about them, and all I see is either their name and a LinkedIn. They don't have an email and they don't have a phone number. That is the worst thing. Even for clients who include their email, I really want them to be including their phone number, because if I'm interested in somebody or if an employer is interested in somebody, we want to be able to get in contact with them immediately versus emailing them. And I know a lot of you are probably going to be worried. You know, I'm overseas, I've got a different phone number. That's not an issue, because you have to be forthcoming. You have to be honest with your application, you know, on your LinkedIn, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. People are going to know that you're not in the country right now, and that's okay. It's way worse to lie and try to fool people that you're not in the country. So it's just better to be forthcoming and honest about that. I'm sure, as Shaw's going to be discussing, and what you're going to be finding out throughout other sessions and training throughout this program, or throughout working with Shaw and his employers, is that not all employers care where you are. You know, if you've got the talent that they're looking for, they want to be able to get in contact with you. Once you have that discussion with them, then you can make it work, but they need to be able to get in contact with you. Other things that you want to include are your any certifications that you have. Sorry, I'm just doing a quick time check. Any certifications that you have, your LinkedIn address, very important, so that people can find you. Just want to make sure there's not a delay. I think we're good. As well, perhaps you have an online portfolio. Maybe you're in marketing, maybe you are a developer and you want to give some examples of what you've produced. Maybe you're a project manager. We all know that you can't fit everything onto your resume. You don't want to overwhelm the person that's looking at your application. So you can create an online portfolio, maybe using GitHub. There's so many other services that you can use to create an online portfolio. That way it's so much easier if you're speaking to an employer to say, hey, do you want to check out some of my work? Here's the link to my portfolio. Fantastic. The things that you do not want to include, which I find this is usually one of the number one things where if clients are not getting calls back, it's probably because they're listing inappropriate information that should not be on their resume. And this includes your LinkedIn profile too. This is just information that you shouldn't be sharing. So this includes your marital status, your date of birth, your gender. Now, gender is a little, it's changing. So a lot of you may notice, for example, on LinkedIn, I've even seen it on some resumes where people want to put their pronouns, so their preferred pronouns. That's a little different than listing your gender. So if you, for example, for myself, I am a woman, I identify as female, I could put my pronouns, you know, Erica Dunlap, she, her, just so that people know how I identify. This is something, if you're not aware about this, you can do. There's tons of research and information on the internet, but I'm just putting it out there. The second thing that you do not want to include, unless you're maybe looking for a job as a, I don't know, a TV personality or a model or something where it actually matters what you look like. You don't want to include a headshot or a photo of yourself. I see this all the time with different resumes that I get. People have a photo of themselves. That's just not something that we do here. I know it might seem counterproductive if you include your LinkedIn profile because they can go and see you there, but on your resume, no, there should not be any photos. The last thing that I suggest that you don't include is your full address. I personally don't like giving my address out to just anybody. You have to keep in mind that there are lots of different phishing schemes. You have to be careful when you're putting your information out to the world. So putting your full address, I would definitely advise against that. You don't need everybody knowing where you are. If anything, what I usually suggest to my clients, at least my clients that are here in Canada, is putting your postal code. That's something that you could put, or just put the city that you're living in or a city that you're planning on living in. Hopefully we don't have any questions about that. Now, Shaw, I'm just keeping an eye on the time here. How long do you usually allow for Q&A at the end?
Well, it's up to you, Erica, because we have known to. It depends on each presenter. If your time allows, I mean, I am open until 10:30 because I know this is a very, very popular subject.
I know we're gonna have lots of questions. Yeah.
So what I did is I actually allotted extra half an hour to this workshop, but it's totally up to you. Okay.
Perfect. Okay. Well, I can go into 10:15.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure we've got time to answer everyone's questions,
Yes, we
or
do.
as many as we can. Perfect. So this is talking about your profile. So remember when I said your professional introduction is a bit different than your resume profile, or your resume summary, as it's called sometimes. So this is what you're going to be typing out. It's the first thing that people see on your resume, and it's called your profile. So this gives a very high level overview of your experience and your core skills. Again, you're talking about your relevant experience. I think it's important on your resume to include what your career goals are. This is something, I've seen my candidates discuss a lot of times when they're in interviews. The employer is asking, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What are your career goals in the next 5 to 10 years? What do you want to do? So I find it's important to include that on your resume as well. If you're working with a smaller organization and there's lots of potential growth, they probably want to know exactly what you want to be doing in the future. And same with larger organizations as well. You always want to keep the focus on your skills, your uniqueness, and the abilities. So I call them the KSAs, the knowledge, skills, and abilities that you can offer to the organization. You also, again, I know it seems a little bit repetitive. You're also going to talk about why are you passionate about your industry? So this is a little bit different than your professional introduction, just because, like I said, you're typing this out. You can go into a little bit more detail in your profile, but you want to make sure that you're not just writing out your professional introduction and then putting it on your resume as your profile. There needs to be some differences. They don't need to be huge. It could just be in your wording or the things that you highlight. The nice thing about having your profile too is, depending on the job that you're applying to, excuse me, you can edit your profile a little bit depending on the job without having to edit your entire resume. So something to keep in mind. And that's my last bullet point here, is just you can edit it to match different job descriptions, which is pretty nice. Saves you some time. All right, so this is a profile example. I'm going to give you guys a second to read this. My battery for my laptop is at 19%. So you guys take a quick look at this, and I'm just going to plug in my laptop just in case if we're going over it with Q&A. Okay, take a quick look. Sorry, Shaw, I just don't want to lose power here.
No problem.
All right, so everyone take a quick look here at the info on the page. All right, there we go. So this is an example of what you would be including on your resume. So this person is a results-driven, customer-focused, and analytical software developer. Immediately, we know their industry. We're listing some soft skills here, and we see that they've got 3 years of experience. Strong design and problem-solving skills, super important for development and lots of other roles too. Expert in Java, C#, .NET, TSQL with database analysis and design. So we're listing some of the top technical skills as well. Skilled in developing business plans, requirement specifications, and systems research. Strong written and verbal communication, soft skills, important to throw them in there. Interested in a challenging technical career in application development environment. excel in effective and positive communication, and a love for creating beautiful code and investigating bugs. So that's the passion statement at the end. So everything that I have highlighted here in purple, those are essentially the, I guess, the more important qualities that you want to list in your profile. So a few soft skills, how many years of experience, talking about what you're interested in doing. Like I said, what do you want to do in the next 5 years? What are your goals? So we have them in here. And then the last thing is as a passion statement on what you really like to do. Why do you like your job? Because people want to hire incumbents or they want to hire talent that is passionate about what they do, because that passion is going to shine throughout the organization. It's going to motivate others and it gets people excited. So the next thing that you can list under your profile on your resume are your core skills or your key skills and achievements. I promise we're only going to talk about this for a little bit because this material can get a little bit dry. We're going to go into a fun demo. Shaw, after this, will I be able to share my screen to do a LinkedIn Live demo?
Well, probably not gonna have time. So just yeah, we'll save that.
Okay,
Actually,
that's
you know
okay.
what? If everyone like to see that, just send us your feedback, and then we'll arrange a session strictly on LinkedIn. Because I know for me, I'm not sure about Erica. Just for me, I can talk for 4 hours about LinkedIn.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. LinkedIn has so much. Honestly, I teach a session on it and it's usually an hour, and that's just covering the intro of LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So maybe if we have time, I can do 2 minutes, just very high level. But for now, we're going to talk about this core skills and achievements that you'll list on your resume. So this is where you're going to use bullet points. You always want to remember to use bullet points on your resume. You don't want to ramble on in big paragraphs. It's difficult for people to read. We want to make it very easy for people to read. So they find that bullet point and it's so much easier to breeze through the resume. So this is where you just want to highlight your key skills, obviously, as they relate to the job. So any technical skills, certifications, soft skills. You can also list 3 to 4 key achievements. As I said, it's important to include achievements if they relate to your industry. Some examples could be some key career accomplishments, your core work responsibilities as they relate to the job description, language profile if you're applying to a role where it's important for you to speak English, French, and Arabic, or English and Mandarin. Really important to include that because that's one of the things that might get you screened out immediately. So you must have that on your resume. And again, technical proficiencies. I know it may seem repetitive to include them in your profile and also in your key skills, but again, include those technical skills. Super, super important. So this is just an example of what your resume should kind of look like at this time. So again, you see there aren't any, there's no photos. We're not talking about marital status. We don't have an address. We just have a nice introduction. We have a skills summary. And then we're diving into the professional experience. So it may be a little bit longer for some people or a little bit shorter for some people. It all depends on your level of experience and what the job is asking for. All right, so I'm going to quickly talk about LinkedIn because I was going to do a live demo and we're not going to have time to do that for today. I see, as I said at the beginning, I see a lot of people already messaging me on LinkedIn, which is exciting.
I know.
One of this, a lot, and that's fine. That's fine. I'm happy. But one thing you want to remember when you're sending out LinkedIn connections, you need to write. When you go, I forget what it's called. When you go to connect with somebody on LinkedIn, it says write a message or write an intro, something like that. Now you have to be careful. You need to be doing it on your desktop unless you have your settings on your phone where you can add a comment or start a conversation. So when you're messaging people, it's really important for you to say, for example, if you're messaging me and trying to connect with me, you could say, hey, Erica, I attended your session with G-TAC and I would love to connect with you. Pick something specific. So something specific if you're talking about the session, for example, pick something specific that you enjoyed. That gets the conversation started. If you're just sending out, blind connection requests, and I'm not going to know who you are because we haven't met before, that's why it's so important to send a little couple sentences just explaining who you are and how we know each other or why you would like to connect. Because I know on LinkedIn, you're not always going to know who you're connecting with, but you want to have meaning in what you're doing. So why are you connecting with me? Why are you connecting with this person? If it's a recruiter, it's about a position. You could talk a little bit about your skills, but either way, it's super important to do that. Some really important things on your LinkedIn profile. If you don't know about this, I suggest you go download LinkedIn and play around with it a little bit. You want to discuss or focus on your headline. Maybe you could just take a screenshot or take a photo of this. When you go to your LinkedIn, just check out these 3 areas: your headline, your about section, and then the content. Those are the 3 biggest areas. As Shaw said, if you've got interest in learning about LinkedIn, go ahead, shoot him an email. We'd love to be able to hear your feedback so that we can do a longer session in the future discussing LinkedIn, because it does take a really long time. But for those of you who want to work on your LinkedIn right now, the best tip I can give you is go look at other people in your industry on LinkedIn. Go check out their profiles. You want to make sure that they're active on LinkedIn. So see how many connections they have, see their activity. You don't want to be looking for advice off people that only have, 50 connections and they haven't been active on LinkedIn for over a year. You need to be looking at active profiles. So that's the best advice I can give you right now for prepping your LinkedIn. And I hope that helps. And maybe we'll be able to cover this topic a little bit in the future. And now I think we're ready for some Q&A.
Okay, and you can go to the last page too. We'll stop at the last page, and I just have some announcement. Thank you, Erica. Really, really wonderful presentation. And now I want every one of you to listen carefully, because why is the slide off? There you go. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So now I want everyone to understand is that the importance of preparing for interviews. Now, this is something that Erica and myself and other counselors always talk about. Nowadays, interviews is all done online. So it is extremely, extremely important that you prepare yourself. Even in such a, right now in a presentation, just assuming all the listeners out there are interviewer, and Erica and I are interviewees. So what I discussed with Erica yesterday is, why don't we do something to show people how to prepare your equipments, right? So what I did is, so you might think that, Erica was running out of power and did not have a laptop plug. That was all planned. It was just to show you this is something that you don't do during an interview. And some of you is like, why is Erica? Trust me, this was all planned, because Erica and I would discuss about this. I say, let's put on a show. So that's exactly what it is.
Good to see how people react when things don't go as planned.
Exactly. So make sure that if you are in the interview process, make sure that your equipment is properly either fully charged. We'll try always use AC power, right, rather than DC power, meaning that plug your laptop or computer, in a continuous power. Anyway, just a little things I want you guys to understand. So just you might wondering, but that was all stage. Okay, that's number one. Number two is we do this is not something that we do often, but we do offer is one-on-one session, career counseling sessions, and we have many subject matter experts on our staff. And so including Erica as well. She does work with us as well on a contract basis. So if you are interested in booking a one-on-one session, there's a fee. There's no free lunch in this world. Okay, there is a fee where you need to register, pay, and then we will schedule an hour with one of our expert career counselor to help you either with your resume, with your interview, with your LinkedIn profile, well, we're able to do this personalized service. It's all one-on-one. So if you are interested, by all means, send to info@g-tac.ca. Some of you says, can we share the slides? As you can see on the top right-hand corner is this workshop, as all our workshops are, is broadcast live on YouTube. So you can go to our YouTube channel probably in a week or so and watch rerun of this workshop, okay, as many times as you want. Okay.
And you can slow it down if I'm speaking too quickly.
Yes, and also you can take screenshot if you want with the slides that Erica presented. We have just opened our feedback for today's webinar. Your feedback is extremely important to us and to Erica, so we know exactly what you like, what you don't like. Speak your mind, please, because neither Erica nor myself will see these feedback. It is all being compiled by our customer service team, and what they do is they compile this feedback and they give us information regarding, like, for example, maybe my light is too bright, maybe we are speaking too fast, etc., etc., and also areas that you want more clarification, such as many of you are talking about LinkedIn. So that's really cool. And I myself, thank you. Some of you already found me on LinkedIn and they send me a LinkedIn request. And as always, I'm going to tell you right now is no, I will not bother accept your LinkedIn request, because I am just full to capacity right now. So it's nothing personal. So please take your time, 30 to 40 seconds, complete this survey. It means a lot to us. And also let us know what other topics you share with us, what other topics you would like to hear to us to present in the future, in the coming weeks and months. Okay. And for those of you with a WeChat account, definitely please scan the QR code. The one on the left is our public WeChat QR code, and the one on the right is our dedicated customer service for all inquiries. Okay, so thank you very much, Erica. Great presentation. So here we are. We have so many questions, and a lot of people says, how can you talk about interview first? Talk about resume later. Now, Erica, you probably will agree with me. Is our experience have told us resume is a way for people to notice you. And then people don't feel, okay, sure, resume, people, you get noticed and they will send you an email or notification asking for interview. Now, I can tell you right now that majority, I would say over 95% of our clients that fail, they fail at the interview stage. That's why Erica put a lot of emphasis on interviews, what to say, what not to say, how to time yourself, how to say, the words that you choose. Those are very important, because literally, employers have told us within the first 10 to 15 seconds of an interview, they made up their mind already. Scary, isn't it? So you literally have to put a lot of emphasis on interview. Okay, that's very important.
Same could be said for the resume too. People only scan a resume for about 6 to 7 seconds, and then they've made their decision.
Yeah. But the thing is, resume is they made a decision. They don't invite you for interview, so that's it. But when they invite you for interview, that means say you already caught their attention, right? And that's where a lot of people fail. It's the interview.
For those who need interview help, getting one-on-one support is usually one of the best ways to prep for an interview. And as Shaw said, reach out to him. I know a lot of you have connected with me on LinkedIn. There's different ways that we can help you out. So we're here for you to talk about interview prep.
Yeah. And then, so here's a question. It says one person says a very valid question. Why are we putting photos in LinkedIn and we cannot put photos in resume?
Absolutely. That was one of the things that I highlighted in the presentation, that it seems kind of counterproductive that we don't put photos. I would just say it's something that I don't want to use the word culturally, but I think it is a cultural thing because I know a lot of different countries will put photos on their resume. They're going to include professional information, or sorry, personal information. But for us, the resume is strictly a marketing tool. You do not want to have any reason for an employer to, maybe they would do it on purpose, and maybe it's an unconscious bias that they have towards somebody, but you don't want to be able to, give any information about your personal appearance. Now, that being said, yes, of course, people can go check you out on LinkedIn to see your photo. Not all people will do that, though. Not all people will go to your LinkedIn. This is just the way that things are done here. We just do not include photos on our resume. It's not something that I think has ever been done, that I'm familiar with, at least in Canada. And, I've been helping people with their resumes and cover letters. That type of stuff I've been doing for probably 8 years now. And I worked with people that have been doing it for 40 years. And it's just not like, I don't know, Shaw, have you ever seen or had anyone advised anyone to put a photo on their resume?
Not in Canada.
Not in Canada. It's just not something that's done here. Just like you have traditions in your home country, it's just
Yeah.
not something that's done here.
Yeah, you don't need photo, you don't need gender, you don't need marital status, you don't need birthday, you don't need how many kids you have, how old they are, you don't need your national ID number, none of these. In fact, some employers don't even want your name now. So in Canada.
The one thing too that I can mention for LinkedIn is really for networking. Your resume is not necessarily a networking tool. The reason why people put their photos on LinkedIn, for example, if you're attending different events online, you want to be able to go find that person. You can recognize them by their face. Sometimes too, maybe before you're going for an interview, you want to be able to check out that person online. What do they look like? What's some information about them, so that we can have a discussion, so that you can recognize them when you go to meet them in person or online.
Yeah. Okay. Well, man, we have a lot of questions. Let's try this. I'm gonna try this because this is relatively. Okay. I'm gonna say this. Okay, Erica, if you follow me, you can answer. If not, I'm gonna try to give you a rough translate in English. Bonjour. Si notre profession est réglementée, est-ce qu'on doit contacter l'organisme de réglementation en étant à l'extérieur du Canada? Rough translation is, if the profession is regulated, do we have to contact the regulatory body, even though we're outside of Canada?
I would say depending on your industry, in most cases, you're going to have a Canadian equivalent. You're going to have to get it, I guess, certified. You probably know more about that process than me, Shaw, but you have to have the Canadian equivalency. Very important, especially if you're, for example, in perhaps the healthcare industry. If you're a dentist in your home country, or and then you come to Canada, you have to make sure that you meet all the professional qualifications in Canada. So that includes certifications, designations, education. So I would say yes for the majority of things. And I know there was quite a few architects that I saw in here. Same with architects. You have to know what the standards are in the country that you're planning to be working in, and you need to make sure that you've got the equivalency.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, architect, definitely you need to know the building code, and there's it's actually very, very heavily regulated industry, because
it is, absolutely.
Yeah, the
If
mistake.
something goes wrong, you're completely liable. You don't want to put yourself at risk.
And not
And
only that,
employers won't hire you unless you have the certifications that are needed. HR won't allow it because it's a huge liability for the company.
Absolutely, absolutely. Here's a question. I don't know how relevant it is. Je suis un super pompier professionnel, avec expérience de 10 ans, et je fais poids lourd expérience dans 5 ans. Est-ce que je peux travailler au Canada? Merci beaucoup. It's kind of like a rough translation. I'm a professional firefighter with 10 years of experience, and a heavy truck driver for 6 years. Would I be able to find work in Canada?
That's a good question. I personally don't work in industries like that. So I'm much more focused on tech and accounting, HR, customer service. Those are areas I'm more familiar with. So I would presume yes, as long as you would have, again, the qualifications that are required in Canada. For firefighting, it depends. That could be a tricky situation. Are you trying to get a job before landing in Canada as a firefighter or as a truck driver? That might be I would say, a little bit more difficult. I would say that's probably something that you would have to be in Canada to apply for. You have to do your training, I think, before you're offered a position. But do you know about that industry at all, Shaw?
No, but all I know is to be a firefighter, you have to go through rigorous training. You have to be accepted into accredited institution to train, and there's also physical tests that you have to pass. Linguistic test you have to pass. It's a very it's like this is probably even more heavily scrutinized profession than architect, because you literally your life and other people's life, it's a direct risk.
Well, and same with, truck driving. That's something that you would probably have to do a driving exam, a written exam about the different laws in Canada about truck driving, because I know it's complicated. That's a complicated profession, so you have to make sure that you know the local standards.
Yeah, I do know that it was on the news not too long ago. For the person that sent me this question is in French, parce que dans Québec, there's a huge demand for truck driver right now in Quebec. So I think they need there's like 8,000. There's missing 8,000 truck drivers in Quebec.
Wow.
Québec, et besoin 8,000 chauffeurs pour le camion. So this is very, very high demand. So maybe this is something, actually, these questions, you can save these questions and ask the immigration expert next week. Same as the one people was asking is like, cette session de formation, pouvons-nous la considérer comme session d'information pour pouvoir entamer une déclaration d'intérêt vers une province définie. Okay. Sorry if I butcher the French pronunciation. I really haven't pronounced French for a while now. So basically, it says, if I translate it correctly, is does this information session consider information session eligible as a declaration in my interest towards in provincial nominee program? I'm not sure if Erica and I are in an absolute position to answer this kind of question. So I would strongly suggest you register for next week's session, where a certified immigration consultant will be online to answer all these questions properly, because we don't want to give you raw information, because we take this very seriously, and it's your career that's we are talking about. So okay, here's a question I want to here's a question that I actually wrote down is, should I include a hyperlink for my IO and TCF results or my WES equivalent? Should I include a hyperlink on that in my resume?
Sure. I mean, if you want to put that down in your education at the bottom of your resume, I think that would be fine. That's completely up to you.
Okay. Is there any disadvantage if I apply for a job while outside of Canada?
Depends on your industry. It depends on a lot of different things. This is a question that I get a lot. I have some clients that I'm working with right now overseas, doing some consulting for them. And while they're waiting to get their express entry, or a work visa, or the numerous different ways that you can try to immigrate to Canada, that's always a concern of theirs, is, will I be able to find a job before immigrating to Canada? I would say it really depends on your industry. It depends on what you're doing. Are you networking? Are you connecting with people? Are you using LinkedIn? It depends on so many different things. I don't want to say that it isn't done, because it certainly does happen. And I know Shaw works with a lot of people overseas. So maybe he's better to answer that question. In my experience, though, it can be a little bit more difficult But if you're putting in the effort, you're speaking to the right people, you're perfecting your resume and your cover letter and your networking, your LinkedIn and your interview. There's so many different things that you have
Oh
to
yeah,
focus on.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's never one thing. It's definitely many things. Okay. Sure. Oh, I guess this is a question for me. Thanks for the session. Most of us are living. Okay, living outside of Canada. Okay, good. How do we join the IT training? Yes. Thank you for this question. Like everything else, everything is online. We switch all our training courses to online on March 20th, 2020, just when we were in full lockdown mode in Canada. So, and now we have, in fact, I would say that our current class right now, 70% of the attendees are from outside of Canada. Now, just bear in mind though, oh, by the way, while we're talking right now, I just got from our staff, our training team, they say the next, we'll give you more information maybe next week when we have a firm or we'll just keep an eye out on our LinkedIn page, Facebook page, or our website. Is our next cybersecurity training class will take start on Monday, January the 10th. It's every evening in the evening, Canadian Eastern time. So yes, so if you're say in West Africa, that could be 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning your time. Yes, it's a bit of a challenge. But if you live in say in South Asia, that might not be too bad because that will be about 6 o'clock in the morning your time, 7, 6, or 5, depends on where you are. And of course, if you're in Asia or Southeast Asia, it's around 9 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning, depending where you are. So all this to say is if you're willing to adjust to the time zone, then definitely you can join online. Okay. I have to be very, very stressed the importance of your attendance. When you do attend our course, in order to qualify for these internship, or we call it experiential learning experience, is you need to have over 90% attendance record. Okay, so you cannot just join our training and never show up and then trying to get this job. No, your attendance is a must. Okay, it's a must have 90% attendance record. Okay. So here's a question. This is a very interesting question, Erica. I attended at Destination Canada and I have 2 interviews. Does it mean that my resume is well done as per what Canadian employers are looking for?
I would say you probably don't need to worry. If you're getting calls back, obviously something is working right. It could be your resume. It could be you've got a skill set that people are looking for right now that's quite in demand that they can't find locally. So that's fantastic. I think whatever you're doing, this is a true testament to see if your marketing materials, so your resume, your cover letter, are actually working for you. For all these people that aren't getting calls back and they're not getting to the next level in the interview process, well, it usually has something to do with your resume. So this is why it's nice to, if something's not working for you, you need to be able to change it. Otherwise, how can you manage your effectiveness? So it's important to keep track. Like Shaw said, or some clients have been applying to hundreds of jobs. You need to keep track of that. What resume were you using? Which one have you seen the most success with? If one's not working for you, you probably need to change it up to make it a little bit more successful for you.
Okay, yeah. You know what? My little notification just sounded. We still have about 5 minutes because I just realized my alarm just sounded. I have a one-on-one career session at 10:30.
Perfect.
So anyway,
Excellent.
so we still have 5 minutes. Here goes. Oh, this one is tough. Ooh. Okay. Why is LinkedIn so important in Canada while in Morocco it is not?
I don't know much about Morocco, so I can't necessarily answer that question. I can say the reason for its importance in Canada, as I said, it's a huge networking tool. I use it day to day to connect with people, to meet new people. There's tons of different groups on LinkedIn that you can join to connect with other professionals. It's a way to stay updated in your industry as well as other industries. It's a great tool to find jobs. There's so many wonderful things. You can take courses through LinkedIn. There's fantastic things that you can do through LinkedIn. And that's why I think it's so important here. I think in other countries that hasn't necessarily caught on. You know, you really need to have buy-in for it to be successful. Like any social media, you need to have people using it, right?
Yeah,
So because so many people use it in Canada, that's why it's so successful here.
yeah, and please don't forget the title of today's workshop is how to make your profile stand out to Canadian employers. We're
Yeah.
not talking about to Moroccan employers, okay? So everything that we talk about is relevant to the Canadian employers.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't think neither Erica or I are expert in what the Moroccan employers are looking for. So yeah, but good question though. Here's a question I need to answer is, and I actually mentioned this earlier, is I have sent you my resume via email in November, early November, yet I have not received a response. So as I mentioned earlier, you need, whenever we get hundreds of emails on a daily basis, okay? So if G-TAC is any indication, just think of us like an employer, right? So we mentioned earlier, some people says I have applied to 200, sent 200 resumes, yeah, no reply. So same thing here. We get hundreds of emails every day. Okay, just think of us as an employer, and we didn't get back to you. There's a reason why, because your email did not give us any reason why we need to respond to you. It's so not getting response is actually normal.
A pretty big response. It is a response on its own.
Yeah, it's a thank you, Erica. Yeah, not getting a response, it's a response on its own. That means say you did not give us a reason that we want to respond to you, right? What is the number one objective of a resume? The number one objective of a resume is to pique the interest of the reader. Once the reader is interested, what does the reader do? Set up an appointment to learn more about you. That's the number one objective of resume. I mean, Erica, has anybody even just got a job, got an offer just by sending resumes?
It doesn't happen often. Unless you've got, the skills that are a needle in a haystack. It's competitive. It's really competitive. And it's competitive even for, Canadians that have lived here,
Yeah.
for a while. It's competitive. So it's typically not enough, unfortunately.
Yeah. There's another one that's very interesting. Maybe Erica, you can answer this as well. Is should we consider internship an experience?
Of course, absolutely.
Of course.
Absolutely. They're fantastic ways to gain experience. I'm assuming that it's in your industry. Even taking internships, for example, I have some friends of mine who took internships doing some, what were they doing? They were in project management, but they wanted to learn a little bit more about marketing. So someone had a question on here about, should I switch careers? I want to make a career shift and come to Canada. I would suggest it's not good to do that. But if you can get an internship or do some volunteer work in that area that you're interested in, or maybe that you have a downfall in your experience that you need to build upon it, fantastic. If you can get an internship opportunity, that's phenomenal. And yes, that is relevant experience that you should be putting on your resume.
Yeah. Finally, we need to close. So Erica, while I do this little bit of closing, you can think about your closing statement. Okay.
Sure.
Some people says, oops. Okay.
There's
Some
the
people,
alarm.
some people says it is difficult to find a job while outside of Canada. Yes, we know.
It is. Yeah. That's why
there's,
we're here. That's why we're trying to help, because it is difficult. If we
yeah,
can make that process any easier, we will.
yeah, there's no any other way to put it. I mean, I don't even know how we can make it better for you, but the answer is yes. Yes. Is it cruel? Yes. I mean, that's the reality. We didn't create the market. We're trying to help you to adjust to the market needs. We did not create the market needs. It's the employers, the job market that created. But we are trying to give you all the emanations that you need to successfully get an employment offer. Okay, so yes, it is cruel, it is tough, but it can be done. We done it with thousands of job seekers, over our over 10 years of experience. So it can be done. And we are not saying this just to say, oh, you know what, pay us money, we'll help you. No, our passion, our the proof, the years of solid placement records, it's a statement in itself, and the effectiveness of our training as well. So Erica, I'm going to give you the last next 60 seconds to close today's workshop.
Thank you, Shaw, thank you for everyone that attended today. I hope that it was helpful. As Shaw said, he's got lots of different projects on the go to help all of you find success in Canada. He's got lots of training opportunities and one-on-one support. I just want to put it out there. Feel free to get in contact with me. If you can find me on LinkedIn, then that's fantastic. Always send a message. I'd love to get tips on other ways that we can help you. Some areas that I support or that I will be supporting Sean as well, like he said, is one-on-one resume coaching, support with LinkedIn, help with interviews, networking, cover letters. There's so many other components to job search just besides what we spoke about today. So if you do need help, feel free to contact me, contact Shaw in the email provided here. And we hope that we can answer all your questions and do another presentation like this in the future to help you out.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you to all out there that listened to us today. And we look forward to see you next Thursday when a certified immigration consultant will be here to answer any questions you have. But I shouldn't say any. Answer questions that you have that's related to immigration to Canada. Okay. Thank you all. And we look forward to see you next week. Have a nice day, nice evening, nice afternoon, wherever you are. And merci. Au revoir.
Merci. Au revoir.
Bye.
Bye.